can't eat the beans.
You like the lima beans?
No.
No,
not
what
those.
they call them. We won't.
Yeah, no, we won't do that. No. Keep it
Because
clean.
they used to, a lot of the guys I talked to said, man, them lima beans, you
Yeah.
couldn't put enough hot sauce in or anything.
No, yeah, they had beef and shrapnel too, you know, and it was beef, potatoes, and some kind of meat. I don't know what it was, but they called
Awesome.
it beef and shrapnel.
Got a good amount watching over.
Really, already?
Yep.
Is Michelle watching?
I haven't seen any.
She said she was going to watch.
Pull up.
Michelle.
Michelle Dykusen.
Oh, Michelle?
She goes,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to watch my.
She's my little sister.
That name sounds familiar. Does she work in the schools?
No.
She worked at Donaldson's for years. Her and I graduated. We graduated the same year, but she went to Stern and I went to Newman, but we were in horticulture. It's not called the vocational center anymore,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we were in the vocational center in horticulture when they had it. And we became good friends, been friends our whole, and her husband that passed away, his nickname was BB because he could run like a BB shot out of a gun. Like Greg Aldifer and I were good friends, so I got to know them really good. And the whole Aldifer family.
Yeah, she used to live, when we first moved here in '64, lived right across the street from them on 3rd Avenue. And we were looking out the window one day, and a police car pulled up. And her grandfather was a sheriff, Whiteside County Sheriff. And me and my brother looked at my mom. You moved us right across the street from the police. And now her sister Fabian lives right across the street from me now on East 20th Street.
Oh,
you know,
Fabian and John live
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Right across the
street. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, we're good neighbors. We're good
Yeah.
neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Because the plumbers and John and I were real good friends.
Yeah.
Fabian worked at Swartley's.
Yeah.
And I knew her from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
we
then when
were-
her husband got killed and then John's wife passed, they
Yeah.
just got
Yeah.
together.
yeah.
We good
And we've been
friends.
on each other since '64.
How's John doing? Is he doing?
Yeah, he's having his health problems, you know.
Did he drop some weight?
No,
That's probably his biggest.
No, that is his
but
big
he'll make his way over to the house every once in a while. He rides his lawnmower. He rides his lawnmower over
his
there.
lawnmower over to the house.
Does he really?
Yeah.
So you got your patio done out back?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all,
When I was over-
all one level now.
Scott and Mary wanted some hot peppers. I go, no problem. So I
Yeah.
took a bag over and they were
Yeah.
tearing it all out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They did a good job. Now my grass is growing. I planted some seeds, and it's already starting to come up.
Well, that rain.
And that's on. Yeah, that rain from heaven.
Yeah. Oh, I was. I said,
Yeah.
I thank God. I go. I was when I did a video Friday to talk about you guys,
Yeah.
or Thursday we'll talk about you guys coming on. That I was standing out in the rain. And I said I didn't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it popped up. You know, I had been watering it, and when that rain came, I looked out there. I said, "Is that the seed, or is that?" I went out and looked. Oh, yeah, it's growing already. It says on the package 20, at least about 21 days. You see something, and it ain't been. It's about a week.
got
Once
the right
that rain
stuff.
hit it,
Yeah. But the
I
soil
raked
was
it all
probably
and
good
stuff.
too, so.
Yeah, it's good black dirt.
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
Yep.
yeah.
So we can start. All
Yeah,
right. awesome.
You've been started for about 3 minutes now.
Oh.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, tonight we're gonna we got Gordon, Martha, and Tina on.
Your camera's there, dear.
Gordon, Martha, and Tina on. I'm pointing over here, but I'm looking here.
Yeah.
You're
And
good.
we're going to talk about Sauk Valley diversity. Gordon and I talked a little bit, messaging back and forth about this history thing, and I talked to Michelle about it a little bit today, about what we're going to do. And Martha is going to tell me a little bit about her Big Mama thing. I'm just intrigued by that because everybody has one in their family, and I just saw it last time when we were together. It was real interesting to hear you talk. And the other thing I'd like to just probably talk about a little bit, and you guys brought it to my attention, which I never thought about, is when the blacks were integrated with the whites, you lost your, I never even thought of it in that aspect where what you guys were learning in all black schools, they didn't bring some of that with you when you went to the white school. They just said, you leave that there, this is what you're learning. And I just thought, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a good thing about the integration or not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you get to lose that, to me, I wouldn't want to lose that. But anyway, so I guess, Tina, tell us about Sauk Valley diversity, because he was telling me a little bit about it.
Okay.
So my name is Tina Wren, and I'm the president and founder of the Diversity Committee of the Sauk Valley. It is a non-for-profit organization, new to the community. I say new, but we've been up and running since 2018. And we have several members that are that we're very fortunate to have, that they're very outgoing, and they come pretty regularly. And then we also get volunteers from time to time for our different events that we host in the area. So our mission is to educate, empower, inform the community about diversity, cultural awareness, and justice for all. And our pledge is, as the Diversity Committee of the Sauk Valley, we promote cultural, ethnic, racial understanding through communication and education. We affirm to celebrate the diversity of everybody. To know each other is to love each other and respect one another. We meet the second Thursday of every month. Right now it's virtual because of COVID-19, but we meet via Zoom. And so we do have a Facebook page, and so that you can always reach us on our Facebook page, the Diversity Committee of the Sauk Valley. My tech person, Rashad Lane, he manages that for us. So if you message, he usually will get back to you right away. You can also see some of our prior events we have on there, as well as if you're interested in attending one of our meetings, which our next meeting is actually next Thursday, the 14th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. If you send a message on our Facebook page, Rashad will let me know, and we can get you the link so that you can attend. And so right now we're planning for 2022. As you know, it's coming up fast. So typically the programs that we promote would be in January. It's the Martin Luther King celebration service. We don't have a date just yet, but usually it's the Sunday or Monday of the observation. Our big fundraiser for the year is called our Black History Gala, where we all get so fancy dressed up, and then we also have a silent auction during that time. We also have some live entertainment, whether it's dancers or singers. They come in, it's good food. Typically we've been out at the Brandywine, but we're going to see about a location change because the interest and the community wanting to attend has just expanded over the 2 years that we had it. So we did not have it in 2021 because of COVID-19, but in the past years we've had it, and we grew from, I think it was like a little over 100 to in 2020 it was over 160. So we're definitely outgrowing the Brandywine for the space, so we definitely want to look into something else. We don't want to limit anybody that would love to come and experience the Black History Gala. So once again, if you're interested in attending any of our events, please feel free to check us out on Facebook to see when upcoming events are, or send us a message and we'll definitely get back to you. We do a women's event in March for International Women's Month, and so that is my baby. I love that program. And so we've had either inspirational speakers come in, activities. We've had women come and sell their merchandise, whether it's dresses or clothing, jewelry, any type of women thing that you would love. And as women, we love to shop, so it's always great to have somebody come in and sell stuff for us. And then we also do Juneteenth, which is in June, and so we host that event, and sometimes we do in collaboration with the YWCA or other organizations that are willing to collaborate with us. And so I'd like to make it a weekend for 2022. We've also talked about expanding and doing a lot more, but with COVID and space and things like that, so we'll definitely see what that looks like. But once again, check us out on Facebook and regards to any of our upcoming events and activities, and or send us a message, and if you're interested in volunteering or attending, we can get you that information as well. We'd love to have some programs for the youth or even the community. If you're interested in asking us to host an event of a diverse nature because you want to educate the community, we're open to that. Just send us a message, let us know what you are interested in informing the community about. I love to plan. I just can't plan everything, and I can't be everywhere. So I would definitely need your assistance and your knowledge in having to promote any program that you're asking us to promote. That's pretty much the Diversity Committee of the Sauk Valley. Do you have any questions?
Well, I just had never, I mean, till he said something, and I'm going like, what is that? You know, I've never seen anything about. I mean, it just was something that I just never heard of.
So we've been in the newspaper multiple occasions. We did have a visual for George Floyd last year. We've also done a couple of other programs to where we're having those tough talk conversations, those conversations that we're either afraid to have or not sure how to start them. So we've done a couple of those segments within the communities, targeting leaders in the community, because once we target the leaders, they're challenged to go out and share that information with other employees, friends, family, instead of just keeping that information to themselves.
Sure. Well, I just think it's a great thing, you know, and I mean, I don't know the Zoom thing if I do, but you know, once everything settles down here and you can get back to a meeting in person, I'd love to come.
Yeah,
I just think it would be great.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part. I mean, everyone finds it easier to kind of attend on the Zoom meetings, but I feel like we lose a little something when we're not in person. I'm one of those people that definitely like that direct one-on-one contact, and so I do miss in-person meetings. I bring the snacks or, hand out flyers and information and things like that. So definitely.
Where do they have that at?
Sorry. So when we did in person, we were doing it at the Big Red Church.
Okay.
So we'll have to see what that looks like for us, because the pastor that was there before, he is no longer there. So I would have to see what their if they have space for us with changing things and stuff like that. Or I'm sure we can meet at one of the other churches. There's lots of churches that support us in the community. Our program is definitely Christian based, and so the First Presbyterian Church has also backed us. Macedonia Baptist Church, my home church, they back us on a lot of our programs. So definitely we have a lot of options, but I don't want to limit to a church, especially if somebody doesn't want to come into a church to attend the meeting. And so we try to also move our programs around the community as well, so that people can feel comfortable attending those as well.
Awesome. That's interesting. And you talked about history, and this is what him and I talked about. And I just heard this about, it was last week sometime. I think that in school, we had history, and I took some history in college because I love history and that. But they're only giving you, I don't know who gives the books out for
what the curriculum is,
and the curriculum is, and they're not telling you. To me, like Lisa and I go, when they had this, and it was really big, probably 4 or 5 months ago, the Tulsa race riots. I never heard of that till we watched it, and I'm going like, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, I was just sick watching that.
Yeah.
And what that happened. Nothing in school. I mean, nobody heard. And I don't know if they don't want to teach that part of history or what. I don't know.
I feel like a lot of times they're trying to protect us, and I'm not sure what they're trying to protect us from.
Yeah.
I think for me, that was one of the reasons why I started the diversity committee of the Sauk Valley, because I have she's a preteen now. I have a teenager, and so back then it was, if she's not learning it at school, first education starts at home, so it was my obligation at home to teach her. But I felt like I have so many nieces and nephews, and I have friends that have kids. If I'm going to teach her, I might as well teach them, and then might as well bring it into the community and teach everyone. So, if each one teach one, then we'll all learn.
Right. But, there's all sorts of stuff. But what I was getting at on the radio, I can't remember the football player. They talk about Jackie Robinson breaking, the color barrier in sports and stuff like that. Way before him, there was 2 guys that came into the football league that were African American that broke way before him. I never heard of, and this guy, I can't remember. He's a real famous receiver. I think I can't remember what football team he played for, but he's wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about like, okay, everybody, they only give certain information that they want you to know. And to me, I want to know it all. I want to know the bad stuff and the good stuff.
Well, you have to share all of history. Black history is not just black history, it's American history.
Right.
And you have, in order for all of us to understand one another, we have to know about one another. You have to know your history, you know, and that's what she was talking about is, you know, teaching not only her daughter, but all the kids, all the rest of her family, the young kids of the family. You know, they need to know their history. They need to know the reason why they can go to the schools that they go to now that they couldn't go to.
Right.
You know, so they need to understand that and know who sacrificed for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, but we weren't taught that.
Yeah.
We were taught nothing. And you guys, when you went from an all-black school to you know, they go like, well, this is the way. It's almost like, I think we talked about it last time, about how they said the Indians were savage, but that's the way their culture was. That doesn't make them, just because they lived in teepees and stuff like that, they weren't bad. That's their culture and the way they did things. You know, they worshiped the earth and stuff like that. But they want to mold everybody into a certain thing, and I just, you know, I don't know. I've never fit in a mold, I don't think, in my whole life, but I just can't imagine losing a whole culture because of being a different color or being, you know, I just can't imagine that. I'd be sad. Yeah. And I'd be like you know, I tell my son all sorts of stuff about our family history, you know, and about other stuff and things like that. I think it's important that each generation doesn't forget.
I agree.
You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember moving here. It was right before my 11th birthday. My family moved here, my household. We moved here from Chicago. And so I remember the first morning, we moved at night, so when we got here the next morning, because that's what happened when you come from a black community, you typically move at night so people don't see what you're moving in your house. Yeah. And so they'll try to break in the next day. So we move it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you move at night because
you don't want somebody to see what you're bringing into your house so that they don't break in the next day when you're at work.
Yeah.
So we moved here, it was at night, so I remember waking up the next morning thinking, like, where's the noise? There was no noise, there was nobody, look outside, there's nobody walking the streets, there's nobody doing anything, and I'm like, what is going on? Where are we? And so school started 2 weeks later, and we didn't have transportation, so we walked to school, and I went to Lincoln, and so I remember the first day of school was horrible. Got introduced, I was the only black girl in my classroom, the only black girl in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Matter of fact, I was the only black kid in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And so I remember being out at recess finally, and everyone was kind of just standing around me like I was a statue. They were all like admiring me or maybe in disbelief, like, who am I? Why, you know, why is your face shiny? Why can we see your scalp? Why is your skin this color? Like, all these questions are just shot at me, and I remember just being so horrified after my first day, and actually months to come it was still that way. And so I remember thinking, like, where I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to my family, my friends, my community. I wanted to go back to my school. But one of the things I remember the most was the education, like you were saying, like what we learned in school in Chicago and how we learned there was nowhere near how we learned here in Sterling. Thinking back, you know, going back now, what I love about this community is the education. Like, I'm not saying I would not have gotten the education that I have now from going to school in Chicago, but what I will say is the support and education and the school systems are a lot better here in this community than they are there. And I know that from friends and family that continue to live there and go to school there. And so that's one of the reasons why I love raising my daughter in this area, because she's getting the best education. And she's getting so much more than just an education. And so when we talk about breaking barriers, my daughter, who's a freshman in high school at Sterling, she just broke the barrier. She's the first African-American girl playing on the freshman football team. And
really?
So, yeah.
Awesome.
And so even though I despise it, like, she just literally broke that barrier. And so, you know, I think for her, not to say she would not have had that opportunity anywhere else, but just the things that she's able to do because our ancestors or somebody before her, you know, fought for her, she's able to do that now.
So how it, I mean, let alone being black, but being a female on a football team, how is that accepted?
So she played junior tackle in 6th grade,
Okay.
and she loved it. But my daughter's very athletic, and so she actually advocated for herself to be on the team, which I was against. But she advocated for herself to get on the team. She went. She talked to the coach. They were like, "Yeah, you can do it." So she played well then. So then they didn't get to play for 7th grade because of COVID. Didn't get to play for 8th grade because of COVID. Talked to the freshman coach who was her 8th grade teacher, and he was like, you're so athletic, I think you'll do great. So he said, okay, I'll talk to whoever, because before she was told that she wasn't going to be able to play, that the girls typically were the
Kickers.
And so she's like, well, I don't want to be a kicker because I want to play. And so she's like, if I have to be the kicker, I'm not going to play. And so I don't know I don't know whatever happened, but she has 3 positions. She's a cornerback or right wing, right wing.
Right wing, yeah.
Or
right wing.
So
yeah.
the cornerback, the right wing, or the safety. Those are the positions she plays, and she
Yeah.
plays the whole game, like literally. She plays the whole game, every game. She did get hurt last week, so she's out this week, but she's ready to get cleared. She's waiting to get cleared so she can go back in.
Yeah, she's fast.
Yeah.
Wow,
Fast.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
well, when Quinn was in wrestling, there was a girl that was in wrestling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're
You know,
starting women wrestling.
Actually, at
Yeah.
Iowa
Yeah.
State,
Iowa.
I think they're
Yeah,
starting
one of the
a girl wrestling.
Dan Gable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan
was
Gable,
a,
yeah.
a big
Right,
Iowa
yeah.
State
Oh yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
He
I mean,
won
he-
the Olympic gold.
Yeah.
What? How many times?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I listened to a talk of his one time, and he was very inspirational and stuff like, wow, that's a barrier. I mean,
Yeah.
the women going into and I experienced, and I'm not saying that she broke a barrier, but I can tell you, Ansley, that worked for us, has the same attitude. When she came and interviewed for the job, I go, you're going to be working with all guys. I don't care. I said, okay, and she was doing, there wasn't anything that those guys did that she didn't do. And it wasn't like she was struggling just to do it. She did it, and I'm just like, man, and I told the parents, I got to meet her mom and dad the one night, and I go, man, I tell you what, she's a real spitfire in that. They go, you're not telling us and that, but she is and she's coming back next year after for this next summer in 2022 to work, and I'll put her up with all the guys working.
Who's that?
Ansley Reed's her name.
Oh,
she
okay.
goes to Newman.
Yeah.
She's a junior at Newman this year. So I know I'll have her, if I can keep her, I'll have her for at least 3 years. I keep telling the kids, I go, you guys will come back next year because you're already partially trained.
Yeah.
You got 1 season under your belt, and they were great kids. And I had 2 of them. We just finished the last landscape job we had to do was the Morrison Hospital job, and it was to put down 12, and we did it on a Sunday, and we had to put 12 tons of rock down, and the reason we did it on Sunday is because we could have the tractor there and there was no cars.
Right. Yeah.
And so I asked a couple of the kids, and one Ansley and Thomas Powers, Dr. Powers from KSB, his son, said that they'd work Sunday. Now these kids went to homecoming, got home at 5 in the morning, and showed up there at 9 o'clock
Wow.
to work. And I told her, I came home and I was kind of teary-eyed and crying a little bit. She goes, what's the matter? I go, these kids. I go, these 2 kids, the dedication from, you just don't hear about it, And I said, they're good kids.
Yeah.
I really,
Yeah.
and I think the kids I like kids anyway.
Yeah.
I miss that part. I hope I can go back into the first grade classes and work with the kids again once the COVID stuff's passed and things like that, because I miss the kids because there's just they bring you back down to earth.
Yeah.
So
And we need to celebrate the kids when they do things. People talk about kids and how they don't have manners and stuff, but it's good kids out there, and that starts at home.
It does.
You have to train your kids.
Education.
It's really good kids.
Yep, and
Really
it
good
is.
kids
It's about
out there.
parents
Yeah.
being involved. When I was involved with the Mississippi Centers with a youth gardening program,
Yeah.
And I would sit around and talk to these kids, and I'm going like, and I'd listen to what they did.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, and most of the time there were and to me if you're divorced and you still have a kid, that's not an excuse in my
Right.
opinion, because
Yeah.
I was divorced and there was not 1 minute I wasn't involved with Quinn. That's not an excuse.
Yeah.
I brought him into this world that's my responsibility
Right.
until they put me in the ground, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'd say 100% right. It starts at home with spending time and listening to your kids. And I was told Lisa, you know, I got my 4-year-old grandson. I call him Mr. Wiggles.
Yeah.
I picked him up today at home, and I said, we got to go get your pumpkins because we're bringing them back, because he planted the pumpkin seeds and stuff. We're bringing them back for your cousins and you. And he goes, all right. So we're driving up to the shop, and he's talking a mile a minute. And believe it or not, as much as I like to talk, I'm just quiet and listening to his imagination.
Yeah.
But today he goes, guess who came to school today? Because he goes to Jefferson, the preschool. And I go, I don't know who came to school. He goes, the firemen came to school. And I go, really? And I go, so what did they do? What did they teach you or what that? And he goes, they had gadgets. And I go, they had gadgets? You know, here's a 4-year-old kid using the word. I go, what do you mean they had gadgets? He goes, well, Fireman Fred, he said, put on stuff, and he had a whole bunch of gadgets. And I'm like, okay. I go, did you get, you know, we used to get a hat or something.
Yeah,
you know,
little plastic hat.
Evidently, they might not do that anymore or whatever they're doing, but he didn't get anything like that. But, you know, it's just his imagination on taking one little thing that I say to him and him building on it, like we could do this and this and stuff. The kids are great. The kids are great.
You ever seen that commercial where the dad tells the little girl, you know, if you take that wrapper and recycle it, you can turn it into other things? And she wanted a hang glider, you know, and he said, well, how about a park bench? You know, said, Dad, you got to be more creative, you know.
That's a good commercial.
Yeah,
That'd be really good. But the kids,
yeah.
and that, you know, and that. But I just think the history stuff. I was really disappointed in, you know, after we watched the Tulsa thing. You know, her and I came out here and we were talking, and I go, you know what? I think, you know, the maybe it's too broad to learn it all, but nothing was said about a lot of this stuff. You know, there's you know, when I took the history out at Sauk Valley college level history, you know, it got to, you know, the civil rights was always was something that I was 100% interested in, and he hardly touched on that. And then, you know, you talk about, to me, that stuff in the communities doing things, you know, and most of the people, when they hear the name the Black Panthers, think of all the bad. They had guns, they did all that, but they don't realize what they really did in their community, for their community and stuff. We didn't learn nothing about. I had to read books. I had to get books to read about about that, about what they did and what they stood for and stuff like that. Sure, there was bad stuff, but, you know, that book I gave you, you know, he was a black, you know,
I'm still reading
Pratt. Geronimo Pratt was a Black Panther, but you know, they did a lot for their communities.
They were some of the first to start school lunch programs.
And they fed
they fed people. They fed the community. They did all of that before the government even got involved in doing anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
All that stuff was interesting, but I was thoroughly disappointed after taking the college history course. That I'm thinking, like, man, you didn't talk. You know, there's so much more stuff to history than you know, what they were teaching, and then, you know, learning about, you know, the Tulsa race riots and that. It really made me think about, wow, what we learned in high school and what I learned.
What
in
else
college,
are we missing?
And that, what else are we missing that they don't want us to know? You know. And I think that's part of the problem. They don't want us to know some of this stuff, you know. And
I think the other thing is when we leave this community, or whatever community that you're in, I think when you don't learn about history or whatever's going on, when you leave your community, you become shell-shocked on what's actually out there when you see it. And it amazes me when I go to different communities around here. And some are little and some are big, but when I go and I see a little kid just staring at me, and they're staring at me maybe because they've never seen anybody black, or maybe they're staring at me because they've never seen another girl. But at the end of the day, you know, it's one of those things. And then the parents always saying, "Oh, we don't stare," but yet you're not educating. You know,
that you know, my mom and I was brought up. My
Don't
mom
stare.
and dad brought me up and told me that everybody, it doesn't matter, because I can remember asking Mom when I saw the first play, everybody's equal. There was never any, and and the Latino, everybody, there's no difference just because their skin's a different color, and that's the way I treated, everybody through my whole life, and that's the way I taught my son, that there's no difference. And I can remember one of my son's good friends. He was in the back seat of the car with my son, and they were probably maybe 5 or 6 years old and that. And we were driving through the parking lot, and there was a black person came out, and he used the N-word. I stopped the car immediately. And I turned around and I said, if you're ever going to hang around Quinn or anything like that, I go, I never want to hear you use that word. And I go, there's no difference between that person and us.
Yeah.
And he was Mexican, but I'm thinking like, okay, how did he learn that?
Yeah.
And it was at home.
Heard it.
At home.
Yeah.
And and that word, I just, it just absolutely got under my skin. I mean, I stopped the car dead, and they knew I was dead serious. I was mad.
It is. The education starts at home, and then it goes beyond that. But if you're not learning it at home, then you're learning it out in the community or from somebody else, and what are they actually teaching?
But the wrong
Right.
stuff.
I think there's a big issue with what we are teaching our kids, and it's not that we're teaching them to be racist or we're not teaching them not to be racist, is that we're not teaching them anything at all.
It's like they don't want to touch the subject.
Yeah, that tough conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as I
You're
said,
right.
that's one of the reasons why I love this community. It's so diverse, with the different people, the different communities, the different ethnics. And so when I lived in Chicago, I lived in an all-black community. I went to an all-black school. Only had black friends. Only went to black events. And then when we came out here, it's like, wow, and there's being at the school that I went to, once again, like, no one wanted to be my friend.
Yeah.
No one wanted to talk to me. No one wanted to hang out. And I remember the one girl that went to my school, and her and I are friends today. And nobody really wanted to talk to her, and she was Hispanic. And so her and I became really good friends. And we had a sticker book club we started, and we'd ask other people to hang out and trade stickers at lunch, recess. And to this day, we call each other the sticker book buddies. Like literally every day. Like to this day, we still keep in contact.
Yeah,
and,
that's good.
when I tell you that was so horrible for me, but it wasn't that way for my daughter. And she's had little incidences of people calling her names, but nowhere near what I went through growing up.
It's different.
And so, it's definitely evolved, but still, I feel like we're not teaching. And once again, they're not teaching at school, they're not teaching at home, they're not teaching in the community. And so when we're not teaching, people start assuming, or they see they start acting out what they see on TV or what they hear on the radio or what they've heard somebody
Because they
else.
don't know anything.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know any better. And so we have to teach them better. And so that's one of the reasons why with the Diversity Committee of the Sauk Valley, if we're educating, we might as well educate the community, show them why we're different, show them what we are, who we are, and why we're doing what we do.
Yeah.
So then at that rate, you can celebrate and appreciate us, and we can celebrate and appreciate you, just as well.
Yeah. We all have something to offer to one another.
Exactly.
That makes us all better.
Right.
Yeah.
And this goes on to where Martha's on deck now. This goes on to where you're saying stuff about teaching at home. You brought up about the Big Mama,
Hi, my name is Martha. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about my grandma, who we call Big Mama, who was the head of the household.
The matriarch.
Anything we had to find out, or if we had permission to go somewhere, we wouldn't ask my mom. We would go to my grandmother, because it was her house. We lived there with her, and whatever she said went. So we had to abide by her rules and her ground rules, which was always the street light better not catch you off this block, So we had to be at home before the street light came home, especially the girls. And to me, Grandma is a great role. I love my grandchildren. I love the name Grandma. Don't call me Martha Gale. That's not my name for you. Zaya called that, hey girl, don't call me girl. I love the role of Grandma. That's who I am, and that's who you call me. So Grandma to me meant a lot because my grandmother was there. From the cooking to the schooling to coming home in the evenings, there was grandma. If we had to go back to school, we got permission from grandma.
And she taught you that.
And she
I mean,
taught us
did,
that.
And did she
And-
tell you the story and the history? Because my grandma would talk about history, and Lisa's grandma would too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was the one at home. My mother was always out working. I'm getting rain on or something.
No.
My grandmother was always out working, but it was grandma who was at home when we got home from school. It was grandma who had the meal on the table, or either had to finish the cooking or either start the cooking, but it was grandma who taught us how to cook. It was grandma who taught us how to discipline ourselves, how to carry ourselves as young women. Everything that we knew, we got it from being around grandma. And we got so many young grandmothers nowadays they've changing the name from grandma to Nana and Nene and all kinds of names. I asked my niece one time, we was in Alabama, and her grandson was calling her Mimi. I go, what is he calling you? Mimi. I go, what's that mean? She goes, I don't want to be called grandma, so he calls me Mimi. I go, oh, I like that role.
Oh, I do. I told her, I said, the first time Jameson goes, Grandpa, I said, there couldn't be sweeter
I
words
know,
for me
I
to
love the
hear.
grandma role.
And
I
that's
do.
what I am Grandpa to him. Now, he
So is
calls his
Gordon.
other grandpa Bappa, which he can call him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But I'm with you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to be known as, and he calls Lisa Grandma.
I
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
grandma role.
Yeah.
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 Oh, man, there's nothing better than that.
I
is
do
there?
too. And we have 7 girls and
7 granddaughters, not 7 girls.
7 granddaughters from 26 to 6. They are 6.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
So we have 2 of each.
So
Two.
are you taking the role of grandma to teach these kids?
As much as I can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I-
And your kids let you do that? Which
They don't have no say. I'm grandma.
You're the big
There you
mama,
go.
man.
I mean, I'm the big mama. I mean,
we in grandma's house.
you in my
grandma's
house.
room.
You in my house. You know,
when
we do
when
that.
grandma's around, or grandpa or papa, they call me papa
that's
or
right.
grandpa.
That's right.
You
You
know,
abide by
same
our
way.
rules and regulations
Yeah.
over here. Now, when you get on 3rd Avenue, that's different. That's your
Yeah.
mama's house.
Okay.
Everybody abide by them rules. The kids, the grown kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's, you know.
You have grandma and stuff.
I
yeah?
do, I
Yeah.
do. So, growing up, my great grandma, it would be, was who was in charge of everything.
Mhm.
And so, if you needed money, if you had a problem,
Mhm.
if you needed a place to stay, you would contact my grandma Bernice. That's who she was. And so. The family, I'll say, I act like her. They say I act like her. I'm shaped like her. That definitely, I would be her twin, and she just was an amazing woman.
Mhm.
And so I remember always going to her house, and depending on what we went there for, whether it was Sunday dinner. If it was Sunday dinner, she'd be in there cooking. She'd always have a lemon crunch cake on the table by Intiman's. Don't know what an Intiman's cake is. The crunch cake was amazing, so that was dessert. So you couldn't have it until after you ate. But she always had the Sunday meal. And then we'd all sit around, but if the adults needed to talk before dinner, she'd reach in her little coin pocket, and then she'd give you a quarter or 2 quarters.
Go to the
tell you
store.
to go up the street to the store. And you'd be excited because you got 2 quarters. And
Yeah.
back then, in Chicago, there was lots of what we call penny candy stores.
Yep,
Uh-huh.
any
And
candy.
So you could get a piece of candy for a penny. So, if you got 50 cents,
That's a
you
lot
was
of
getting a lot
candy.
of
That's a lot of candy.
Better than Halloween.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to catch on that the reason they were giving you the money is because they wanted you to?
It was probably by the time I was like 10 or 11,
Yeah.
like noticing. Before it was just like, oh, well, I got 2 quarters, I'm gonna get a bag of chips,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a juice, I'm gonna get some candy, and I'm gonna get a pickle. Like,
Yeah.
I was,
Real pickle. Yeah.
sometimes going to my grandparents' house, it was exciting just to be able to get the weekly allowance.
Yeah.
And so my grandma, I loved her dearly, and so when she became ill, we lived here, and so my mom ended up going back to take care of her. So a lot of times my mom would have to go back and forth to take care of her because my mom was the oldest of her siblings, and so that would have been her grandma.
Right.
Because my mother's mom, my grandma on my mom's side had passed away when my mom was younger. So she's actually who raised my mom, and so that was my mom's responsibility to go back and take care of her. And so she went back and forth often, or stayed quite a bit of time, and we stayed here with my dad while she went and did that because that was her responsibility.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember one time being at my grandma's house, and we had to stay with her for a while because we were in between places to live. And, you know, up talking to her about where she came from in the South, talking to her about my grandma, who I didn't know, and then talking to her about my mom growing up. Those talks were amazing.
Yeah.
Or even watching her, like, educate my mom on how to cook certain stuff. And teaching me like how to clean greens or how to clean chitlins or like how to bake cornbread, things like that. Those things were amazing. And then my mom proceeded to teach me when I grew up. And before getting married, I wasn't a cooker. I was more of the baker. So my mom would want to teach me how to cook, and I was like, oh, okay, well, what needs to be baked? Like,
Get off the cooking, huh?
I love to work, and so for me, I always said I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. But I grew up with a stay-at-home mom. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I appreciated all those meals.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have money to go out to eat, so we didn't go out to eat. And so when I have my friends like, oh, well, yeah, we about to eat macaroni out of a box. I'm like, I don't know what that tastes like or looks like. Because we've only ever had homemade macaroni and cheese.
Right.
You know,
Right.
or, you know, we're going to KFC. Well, we don't eat KFC. We eat, like, fried chicken at home.
Yeah.
So I didn't know forever, like, what it felt like going to a restaurant until I started making my own money, and then I could go on my own. But before that, we're having home-cooked meals at home.
Well,
Yeah.
we didn't have cars.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
very few households had cars that you could borrow to go to McDonald's or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
that's-
if it wasn't in walking distance, you didn't get a sandwich that was bought. You would go in that kitchen and make your sandwich.
And you know what? And that's all part about the parents being involved with the kid because you were sitting around the table.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Where all the conversations were.
Around the
Yeah.
table.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can, and my grandma was the same way. My grandma only had a 6th grade education, but she was very successful in the restaurant business. She had 3 restaurants that she ran very successfully, she knew how to. She was a people person, so
Right.
you know what
Yeah.
people wanted
Yeah.
and stuff like. And that's why I tell my cousins all the time we were ruined as kids for eating healthy or whatever like that because
Right.
we had pies and cakes and stuff. The restaurant, all of them, my aunt, my mom, my grandma, they were all
Cooks.
good cook. My
Right,
uncle,
yeah.
my uncle was a good cook. They all could cook and make stuff, and we had stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did
Excellent.
we.
Yeah, my grandmother, she cooked in the schools, and I mean, I have never had chicken and dumplings like my grandmother.
No, I can't make.
Oh,
No.
chicken and dumplings, wild greens.
I've tried, but I can't.
Oh, you ever had wild greens?
I've not
Oh
had
my
wild
goodness.
I can
Oh,
cook a
gee.
lot of things, but I
Pickled
can't
beets,
do them.
and, I mean,
Oh, I love
everything,
pickled
because my granddad's mother, they lived in the country. We lived in the city in Lexington, and they raised hogs, and so they slaughtered hogs and all that fresh meat, and then they had gardens and all that. So everything was just fresh food. Didn't have all those different pesticides and whatever they spray
Preservatives and all
fruit,
that stuff, yeah.
all natural. So you did eat healthy, but you ate a lot. You ate fat food,
And
Well,
Everything was filling.
Yeah.
A big pot of beans and some cornbread,
yeah.
or some
Yeah.
pig feet or a pig ear sandwich or whatever.
And I try to do the same thing with my kids because one Sunday out of a month, I cook a big dinner and everybody come to the house. I have the things that my kids can't cook. Although they say, Mama, you need to teach me. I said, well, come on over and I'll show you how to do it.
Right. And
But they
that-
never make it over there,
Until it's all
They're
done.
ready to eat.
And so I've learned since I've been married to actually cook, and so some of those things that my mom would make and I wouldn't pay attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I would ask her, like, show me how to do this, and so I've learned some of that, and even I've shared some of my food with them, and they'd be like, ooh, where you get this from? Who did
Yeah,
who
yeah.
made it? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I chili. And so now me and my mom are in a competition of how to make, or whose macaroni and cheese is best. Like mine or hers. And so my daughter goes back and forth like, I don't know, my mom's macaroni and cheese is
Well, your mother can cook a mean roast though.
My mom can cook a
Oh,
good
she can cook a
roast.
mean pot roast.
See,
Oh
my grandma,
goodness.
we used to have roast.
With gravy,
Yeah, with gravy. And homemade mashed potatoes.
homemade mashed potatoes.
Yes.
I
Gravy.
never
go,
met
bud,
anybody
okay,
that didn't like
gravy.
gravy and mashed potatoes.
I know.
Never ever.
We got problems.
I'll eat
over here.
potatoes any other way. I
Yeah,
don't.
baked
I-
potatoes.
Really?
You know my.
Do
You
you
know.
eat a smothered potato, like with smothered, and then it has, I guess it's not smothered with anything, but it's like smothered with
Butter.
butter
Butter.
and onion, and then you kind of cook it down, and it's almost like a, what do
Because
you
Like
it's
call
all.
a hash
It's,
brown
Yeah, like a
almost.
hat-
it's
yeah.
all. It's all like whipped up.
It's
you know?
not whipped. It's circles, like little circle, potatoes are cut in circles. And
Oh
then-
yeah.
Like
I'd eat
scalloped potatoes. or
Yeah,
something
scalloped
like that.
potatoes.
Yeah.
No,
Like
no
fried
problem.
potato.
I'll eat
Yeah.
the hell
Like
out of
fried
it.
potato.
Yeah, cook it down
But-
with butter and onions.
What my dad would do, because I wouldn't eat it. You know, they'd make a big thing of mashed potatoes. There's always leftovers.
Yeah.
Well, the next day, he'd
Fry
get
'em.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
potato
you
cake,
talk-
potato
oh,
pancakes.
Man,
Yeah.
you talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I've not had them since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
They make them over in Dixon.
Yeah.
What's that restaurant over on Depot Avenue?
Flenny's?
Flenny's. Oh, we met there. It's co-workers from corrections.
Yeah.
Meet there for breakfast, and somebody ordered that. I said, oh wow, I haven't had that since my mother. I was talking to my mother the other day about that, and I was telling her about Flanagan's over there
I'm
in,
like
in
you.
Dixon.
I don't eat a lot of gravy, but I like a little bit of gravy on my potato. But I can do without it.
Oh shoot,
I
bring
can
me
do
extra
Mashed
gravy.
potatoes and gravy. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
we-
bring me
we
extra
have
gravy.
we had Thanksgiving and Quinn would come over. Lisa, I go and I cook all the meal. And I go.
He won't
potatoes
even
are
cook
yours.
it.
I wouldn't cook it. And
Won't
I
even
could-
cook the gravy?
I wouldn't cook any of it.
I gotta do
go,
it
"You
all
want mashed
myself.
potatoes?"
If I
No.
want it, I gotta. I
What's the
gotta cook
menu
it.
have? It's got everything. I go, you want mashed potatoes? You make it.
Nah.
I'm not making it.
I was just talking about making meatloaf and potatoes and
yeah.
That's
because I don't
Gordon.
eat pork
Yeah.
or beef, so I
Yeah.
make turkey, ground
We-
turkey.
That's what we use, turkey.
Meatloaf, and so
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make it on Sunday for Sunday dinner. Because as Ms. Harris said, like I also do a Sunday dinner. That's one of the things I've taken from my mom. And
Right,
one of the
exactly.
things, like I love to work, as I said, and so when I had my daughter, I still wanted to work all the time. But one of the things I got from my parents is that I would always make the food. So
Yeah.
I teach, I cook the meals, and then I also on weekends I make breakfast. And so that was one of the things. My dad, he always made breakfast for us every weekend, like
Yeah.
homemade pancakes, homemade bacon and eggs and all that. And so that's one of the. I was just thinking like, oh, I'm about to make some shrimp and grits this weekend. And then I was like, I took the turkey bacon out. I'm like, I'm gonna make some turkey bacon and eggs. So
Yeah.
definitely.
We
Yeah,
love
I can
turkey
do without the turkey bacon, but we drove to Peoria to go to Bob Evans
Sure did.
just to get some grits.
Sure did.
Really?
Sure
All
did.
these restaurants around
We
here,
sure did.
no grits on the menu.
We ate
I can't
today.
believe that.
I love grits.
Well, today we ate at Cracker Barrel when
And
we
they
took my
had
daughter
some.
up
They
to
had
catch the
some.
bus to go to O'Hare. But Cracker Barrel had grits, and I had country ham, and grits.
But the reason I decided to cook a meal every other Sunday because my kids every day it's just fast food. You know, they get home
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock. It's too
Well,
late
they're
to
both
cook.
working, Martha.
Yeah. And
they
You know,
bring
they're
the
not
food-
like
Yeah.
what you
They
said.
bring the food in with them.
Yeah.
So I figured like maybe every other Sunday I'll cook the greens, the roast, the yams, the mac and cheese, or whatever everybody some
Cornbread.
dish that everybody like.
Yeah.
So
That's what we. I try to do that stuff here too. Like we're at home working in the yard here, usually Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and I try to. Saturday is kind of a transition day. You know, we're here, but we do a little bit of stuff for the business, and then I'll like. She'll go, I'm going to do something, and I cook up a bunch of stuff for the week. You know,
Yeah.
if I can,
Right.
you know, and do stuff. We still do. We'll get a pizza, and at her, I both weakness are pizzas, so we'll get a pizza, or sometimes we make our homemade pizza. You know,
Yeah.
stuff like
yeah.
that. You know,
I did that
But-
every once in a while.
But we try to do that. But it's so easy to get caught up when both of you are working. When we're
Yeah,
on the
right.
treadmill, you know,
Yeah.
the part of this pandemic that has been a blessing is we've been able to slow down because
Right.
we come home and I love to cook, but
Yeah.
I was too tired.
Yeah. Right.
See, I go, oh, let's just get pizza or get a burger or something. I mean, I'm just too tired.
and when the
Yeah.
kids were coming over, I had a grandkid in my house every other day. I would have supper ready at 3 o'clock because when I got off at National at 2, By the time the kids come in the house at 3, sit down, go wash your hand, come on and eat. So you can get your homework, get it out of the way, and then you have the evening to play.
Yeah.
That was our routine.
Yep.
Come in, wash your hands, let's eat. Then you do your homework, and then you got the afternoon to play.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's the
And-
first thing they had to do when they came in. You know, after they ate, was do homework. Don't bring any friends home first with you.
Because they
you know,
can't stay.
Because they can't stay. You know, you got to do your homework, and then you can go play.
Right.
Yeah.
We tried to do that with Quinn too, but the national thing, it was kind of funny because people go, man, you eat fast. I go, we only had 20 minutes.
Well,
to
hey,
eat."
20 minutes.
You had 20 minutes to eat, man. You had to
in
eat.
20 minutes. Like,
You know,
done?
and you know who I just went and dropped off a huge bag of peppers to? Dale Ordine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because he messaged me and goes, man, if I live closer, and I'm thinking like, well, Dale, where do you live? And he goes, Rock Falls. I go, what do you mean you live closer? I go, what's your address? And I stopped over there, and he goes, hey, bud, what's going on? He goes, what I owe you? I go, nothing. I go, I got many more bags of these if you want them. I said, let me know. He goes, holy cow.
Yeah.
What are they, hot peppers or
Oh, yeah.
green peppers?
Hot
Yeah.
peppers.
Yeah.
Jalapenos and all
Well,
that.
that's the tamest one I got. I got
Oh.
Nest Spiral, 7-Pot Chocolate, Apocalypse Scorpion.
Ooh.
And now the neighbor over there, the Gallardo's over there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
took him a whole bag, and I told him, I said, be careful. I go, there's some in there. I go, I know you guys like hot,
I
but
gotta
I
get
go,
my
these
scarf
are
out. I
above
can't
and
get
beyond hot.
my hair wet.
I know.
Above
got a
and
hood on
beyond
your
hot.
jacket?
Yeah.
But I have
yeah.
to wash mine, so
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I'll be okay.
okay, well.
But that's what I miss because, you know, I was telling you guys earlier before we were on about the books, beans, and beliefs got sold, and it's still, as you walk in there, the mat, as you walk in that door, if you
Yeah.
look down, it says Green Lantern, and that was my grandma's restaurant.
Yeah.
But every Sunday, all us cousins, and we'd go to church.
Right.
Then after church, we went to the restaurant, the
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern, and that's how. And I was telling Michelle this. I said,
Yeah.
we had to know, and we better set the place settings right.
Right.
When we're
yeah.
doing it.
Fork on the left.
My grandma, and my mom and my aunt were in the kitchen cooking all the stuff up. All us cousins had to set the table, and then we had to clean the table off because they did all the stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was a great. I loved that family stuff.
Yeah.
So as you speak about that, that's one of the things that I do with my daughter and I do with my nieces and nephews as well, is that we do the whole family style, but also when we go out to eat, like I like to take my kids out to a formal place so that they're able to see that every meal doesn't come out of a wrapper, as well as how to order appropriate from a menu
Right.
and how to order appropriate, like you know, an appetizer, you know, a salad, a soup. We're also going to get the main course. We're also going to get dessert. And I remember when I first met my husband, he was like, why should we order an appetizer? I'm like, because that's how we order. Like, when her and I go, that's how I've always taught her how to order. And
Yeah.
I said, and I want her to know that if anybody takes her out to eat, or even, you know, whether it's a school function or she gets older and goes on a date, like, this is how you order. So
Yeah.
I want them to know that the proper way to order is this way, and not just let me get what's on the number 2
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the menu.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you actually have to read the menu, look to see what's on there. You know what you eat, you know what you don't eat.
Yeah.
You know what you want on there, instead of being upset when something comes back to your plate.
Like, what is this?
that?
What is
exactly. And so I've definitely taught
Oh,
my
God.
daughter that.
We did that in Dixon. Gordon and I went out to eat, and Gordon ordered something. I have never done that before, got what he ordered. But that day, whatever he ordered, it sounded good to me. Like, oh, that sounds good. Maybe I'll order that. Whatever it was.
You still don't know what it was.
I don't know
I
what
can't
it
remember
was.
what
Did you eat it?
No, I
No,
didn't.
no.
I did not. I was like, oh my God, what is this?
When I went out to it's California, where Fort Ord was, not Carmel, it was Monterey.
Mm-hmm.
There was a place called Rapaya's, and it was right on the end of the wharf. I mean, you could sit there, and the seals were out there, and I remember eating, and I had no idea what calamari was.
Oh,
So I
calamari.
remember, I'm like, wow, man, this is really good. And so the waiter comes by. I go, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I go, what is calamari? He goes, it's squid. And I'm
Too late.
I go, well, I like it. It's good, but,
Right, it's
you know,
down.
it was stuff like that. And I always told my son too, I guess you could say that my whole family, my mom and my grandma and everybody grew up in the service industry because they were waitresses.
Right. Yeah.
And I always, when I go out, and the food's good and I don't mind giving them a good tip.
Oh yeah.
I know how
yeah.
hard those people work
Right,
for what they
right,
do because
yeah.
my mom did that, And when I was a kid, even though I was out with the guys in high school and we'd be doing stuff and that, I'd always go, well, it's 11:30, drop me off at Clucky's. She would.
Yeah, right,
I go, drop
yeah.
me off at Clucky's.
Yeah.
I said, because I got to walk mom, because we'd walk home from there. I go, I
Yeah,
got to walk
right.
mom home,
Yeah.
and I'd always meet her and we'd walk home and stuff like that,
But you can always tell a good waitress that works for that tip, because I said she deserved that tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
She working hard. She deserved a good.
And my wife always tells me, said, if I was a waitress, I'd always look for your table because I always leave a good tip.
He does.
I do too, Gordon.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
food's good.
yeah,
And sometimes I can't remember where we were, and this guy was, he was really, and I'm not saying the guys aren't as good as the girl, but most of the time you really don't get a super good guy.
The little boy at Applebee's.
Oh, that guy
little
at
tall
Applebee's
guy
used to
at
work
Applebee's.
there, worked at Applebee's ever since
Every
it was
Sunday,
open.
yeah.
I see him walking from
Yeah.
Applebee's
Oh,
all
He
the time.
walked. He
Little
he
thin
walked to
guy.
work.
Yep, he actually now works at Smoked on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, does
Yeah.
he?
They're
Oh,
there,
he was
yeah.
good. I mean,
But this
he was
guy
good.
was good, and he was. He had a sense of humor, and
Yeah.
man, him and I were going back and forth. And it was really fun, and I gave him a big tip,
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
really fun to be with. And I'll never forget because growing up, like at my grandma's restaurant, all the people that waited on you were women. There was
Yeah.
never the guys were in the
Right.
kitchen. And
Yeah.
stuff. And I'll never forget the first trip that I took with my mom, and we went out to California, and we went to. I just remember, I can't remember the whole name, but they had glass bottom boats that you could go on. She went there when she was younger, and she took us there, and we went to get something to eat in the thing. And the guy, I told my mom, I go, what's he doing? Why is he waiting on? I just couldn't understand why he was waiting. I go, it's supposed to be a woman waiting on this guy. What's this guy doing?
Again, that's the whole getting out of your community and
Yeah,
seeing,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like what you said.
Right.
I didn't know that. I had no idea that a guy could be a waiter.
But whatever that little boy name that was at Applebee, they say he walks all the time and he won't take a ride, even if you offered him a ride.
Yeah.
Even
I'm
if you
glad
knew.
to know where he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a gift certificate for Smoked on Third.
Yeah.
It's good food down there too.
Yeah.
They did our 50th reunion.
Yeah.
Oh, that food was
Yeah.
It was
excellent.
good.
Yeah.
It was
that
good.
was great.
Yeah, she is.
And
I've
they
been
kept
knowing her
it.
for quite a
They
while.
kept
too.
the
I
table
have
loaded
a
with
place
food.
over in Dementown too, Little Smoke.
Yep, Little Smoke.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They kept the table loaded with stuff. They
Oh,
never
yeah.
let the table run out
Really?
of food
Doing
with
that
fruit
reunion,
and stuff.
yeah.
And
Well, I go down there in the morning and sometimes, and I don't know who the guy is down there, but he's smoking the stuff.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
walking down there, like spraying weeds, and I'm going,
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
well,
John.
not John. I don't know if it's John.
Okay.
It might not be John. Because I've seen another guy.
Oh yeah, there's
out
another
back.
guy. I can't remember. His
He was
name.
out
Yep.
smoking a cigarette, and I'm
Yeah.
going like, I was gonna go, dude, can I have a slice of that?
Give me a piece of that
Like,
brisket.
why don't you let me sample it? Make sure
Yeah,
it's
make sure it's
okay.
okay.
Yeah. That's what your parents used to say.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
You're younger. Let me make sure it's okay for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. The smell was really
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that.
But then again, getting back to Grandma like Tina, I learned how to cook from Grandma. Come here, Gail, and watch me. That's what she would do. Come here, Gail, and watch me how I'm doing this. So she would teach, she would show us everything. Now, my brother never did want to watch, but he would make his own concoction. He would throw stuff together. It would turn out perfect. Me, I had to like, that's not how she did that. You know?
You go by the book. Well, we were out here the other day just sitting, and I have my mom's old Betty Crocker cookbook. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
falling apart.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
falling apart. But I like at Christmas time, I'll make her thumb. She's got writing in it, like
Yeah,
just
right.
cross this out, and she's got this. So
Yeah.
I make her thumbprint cookies out of there. So I was reading stuff in there, and it was funny because I was in like, was it the dessert section, Lisa, that I was talking in or whatever? She goes, you got to go get something sweet for us to eat because you've been talking about. But they had things on the buttercream frosting. And my grandma,
Yeah.
and this is why I had the chocolate cake. My grandma would make the chocolate, and it wasn't out of a box.
Right.
And then
yeah.
she would make the buttercream frosting. And it was like this thick.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, I could eat the whole sheet cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Right.
stuff
Some
was
good cakes
just-
now.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
cook the pies. They weren't made with butter or Crisco. They were made with lard.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I tell you what,
Yeah.
that crust is altogether different when you cook with lard.
Oh yeah, it's a place in Kentucky called Crutchfield's that makes homemade pies. And my mother, one day I went home and she had a vanilla cream pie. That's what she used to make all the time, homemade pies. I said, "Oh, Mama, this is good. I haven't had one." And she said, "I didn't make that." I said, "You didn't make this?" He said, "No, I don't make them anymore. Crutchfield's. It used to be a meat store, a meat
Every
marketplace.
every
When we
time
were
we
coming
go
up, and now it's just huge. They moved and they got everything. They make homemade pies. And I don't know if I told you the last time I was here. I said, "Who made these pies?" And it was a young girl, and she was using her grandmother's recipe, a butterscotch pie. Oh my goodness, meringue that thick. And I make a caramel cake, and like the icing.
Yeah.
And then there's a bakery called Spalding's Bakery in Lexington, Kentucky. You get a chocolate glazed donut, and the chocolate on that donut, I mean, it's thick. It's not like the donuts around here. You might get a donut with chocolate on it, but it's not a glazed donut with chocolate.
Yeah.
And their chocolate will melt.
Yeah.
This won't melt.
Yeah. See, there's
It's
you
a
sound like
difference,
a
and it's
connoisseur of
homemade.
chocolate
Yeah,
like I am,
and
too.
their cinnamon rolls are heavy. Yeah,
Well,
Young's Bakery used to be like that in
Well,
Rock Falls.
and the other one that was really good at, you talk about cinnamon rolls, in his day was Tony Bevilacqua. He
Yeah.
had those one cinnamon rolls, and his mom, I remember Mrs. Bevilacqua, because we'd go there, and my grandma would talk to Mrs. Bevilacqua because they were about the same age. But I'd go there, and we would only eat those cinnamon rolls, and I would kill one of those.
Yeah.
You can get cinnamon rolls anywhere around. They're not like what those are made.
Yeah.
And you talk about your the dumplings and that
Oh,
Martha
yeah.
can do. My grandma made spaghetti and at the Green Lantern. I remember going down there eating it many times, and it just had this taste to it. And I asked my aunt many times. I go, "Can you make Granny spaghetti?" She could. I go, "I'm sorry, this is good, but
Yeah.
it just is not that
Yeah.
taste."
Yeah.
I would instantly, and I don't know if you ever would taste that taste, if you're instantly back.
Right.
Because there's smells like, I'll go into the greenhouse, and my dad had a greenhouse along this garage.
Yeah.
And I remember it had a certain smell to it. And I'll go in the greenhouse, and every once in a while that
You
smell.
get that whiff.
And I'm
Yeah.
instantly I'm with my dad.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
instantly
Yeah.
with my dad.
That's like hearing a song or something that you heard coming up, and then to take you right back to
Yep.
where you first heard it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I made catfish and spaghetti for dinner the other day, and my daughter comes in the house. She's like, "Man, it smells like Grandma and Grandpa house up in here."
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, when she talking about her grandmother teaching her how to cook, I'm so glad she did.
Oh.
I'm so glad she did.
But yeah, and Quinn, I don't know if Quinn, I don't, Jameson has said to me 2 or 3 times that I'm like you, I'm more of a baker. I mean, I can cook, but I'm more of a baker. And I like to have recipes. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be in my heyday because we're going to, it's called a pepper challenge. So everything's got to have hot in it.
Ooh.
And they're doing it outside. We were kind of skeptical about going. There's only going to be 14 people. It's all outside, and I think, yeah, everybody that's there has been vaccinated. But still,
Yeah.
we're outside. I don't want to go inside.
Yeah, right.
But the pepper stuff, I'll be in my heaven. I'll start I'll go up in water, but I'll start at 8 o'clock and I'll cook all day till we go to that thing. But, I got the meatballs, and I'm going to put these hot peppers in it. And I got these deviled eggs. I'm going to make 2 different kind of deviled eggs. But I made some how many times did I have to do the jelly?
3.
Like, 3 times. I couldn't get the jelly, the hot
pepper jelly?
to gel.
Oh,
it was running.
yeah.
And I'm going like, and I'm on the internet looking. I go, and I finally come down to the pectin I was using wasn't good, so I got this other pectin and it worked. But I put a name on it, so I'm giving them all that, and then I'm making a zucchini. I've got these little loaf pans, and I make chocolate zucchini bread.
Ooh,
but
yeah.
it's gonna
have a kick to it.
Oh, it'll have a kick to it.
Yeah.
It'll have a kick to it, and then the meatballs, and I think that's all I was doing, and the deviled eggs.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, but because I like heat, I like spice.
I had a nurse that worked with me out at the Bonnie Bar at Corrections in Dixon, and she always made pepper jelly, you know, and she said put it on a cracker with cream cheese. Oh,
Gordon,
Oh.
I did that. I ate that the other night. I go for a
oh
snack.
man!
I go. I
That's
gotta
so
test
good.
this. I gotta test this jelly, and I
Yeah.
was going like, damn, it's not that. I mean, it's got a kick.
Yeah.
Most people probably say that's hot.
yeah.
I was telling her, I go, that ain't that hot. And I put these peppers called Puma. They're just little peppers.
Yeah.
And it was brand new for me. And I was here the one night with Matt. I don't think it was Matt and Michael Durst that was here. And I remember I bit it, and I was like, "Oh, man!" And Matt goes, "What?" I go, "Man, and this one's hot." And I was like coughing, and he smelled it. He goes, "Man, that is hot." And I can't believe how many I ground up and put in that jelly. But it isn't that hot.
Maybe because the grounding of it maybe took it a little bit.
Well, maybe the
What
heat.
Mama
I'm
said to do
wondering
with
if
your
the heat-
peppers, that sausage she put in them baked beans that year. One year we went down home.
have what we call a hot sausage. You know, it's a link sausage, but you eat it on crackers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I took it to Alabama one time, and her aunt put it in some baked beans. And if you cook it, it gets hotter. You know, and so we couldn't eat the baked beans. I said, "Oh no, Mama Sally, don't bake that, don't heat it."
That's supposed to be eaten cold.
I gave
all
some.
that sausage
Yeah.
in there,
I-
and these beans out of the refrigerator. I go, what sausage?
Oh, you took a bite of it. Oh my! And I gave one of my neighbors down the street from me named Kendra. I gave her some hot sauce. She said she can't eat cold meat and stuff, and she said she heated it. My mouth was on fire. I said, "No, you can't heat it. It just gets hotter."
Oh no.
That's funny.
It's like a cold cut. You know, you
Yeah.
eat it with crackers or something like that. You know,
yeah.
cheese.
It
and stuff,
took
but-
me years.
and a dill pickle.
I still don't eat it. I've been
like
it.
recording 50 years and I still
So
can't
who
eat
makes
it.
the sausage?
It's too
I don't know. We get it from Kroger down
too
in
hot.
Kentucky. All the
Be
stores in
interested to
Kentucky,
try,
in Lexington have it.
See, I'd love to try that.
Yeah,
That'd-
every city has their own little thing, you know, like when we go to Alabama, it's that
meat.
sauce meat, you know, it's a gray sauce, not the pickle sauce. And when we go to Kentucky, I get the hot sausage. That's what I grew up on. She grew up on the sauce, and I'd never had the sauce before. But my grandfather,
Oh, he like to eat this up sick.
when we brought some from Alabama one time, stopped in Kentucky to see my grandparents, and he was eating. He said, "Oh, I haven't had this since I was a kid," and we was bringing it.
We had to get more because by the time we got
we was
there,
bringing it back to Sterling, we thought, but he was eating it all up so fast.
one time I told Gordon, don't tell your grandpa we got this out. I want to take some.
Well, you know, and it's funny, like you go to communities like that and see, I would love to try that food.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you go over here to, there's a couple of the Mexican markets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you can get the stuff now. The guy at the Dairy Mart.
Yeah, Laguna?
No,
No,
the Dairy
no,
Mart.
no.
Dairy Mart.
Dairy Mart.
The Dairy
Oh.
Mart right here on 16th Avenue.
Oh, yeah,
By the
yeah.
park,
Oh,
by the
yeah,
park.
yeah,
I tell
yeah.
you what, his tacos
Yeah.
are something else.
Oh, yeah,
His
yeah,
tacos
yeah,
are
yeah,
really
yeah.
good. But those ladies, and I think I told you this before, those ladies at that alteration shop,
Yeah.
Oh,
Mexican
yes.
ladies, and you go in there
Get-
and you go, I go, oh, you got it. I go, how much for the sauce? Because they got jars.
Oh, across from Octopus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
ladies
yeah.
got sauce.
I just got
Oh, yeah.
I just went in there to get my daughter's homecoming outfit pressed,
Yeah.
and then I saw the
Did she have
salsa. She
Yeah.
said, you take.
Yeah, yeah.
Jars
Oh,
for
yeah.
$10.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I had it, and I was like, it's too much for us, and I was like, so I had split it in 2 jars, and I'm supposed
Yeah.
to take another half over to my sister.
Oh, yeah, I've got some of that sauce before,
Yes,
too.
it was
Why?
amazing. She said you eat with everything, like
Yeah,
meat,
yeah,
tacos,
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I poured it in the chili, and these guys are going like, "Holy cow, it isn't that hot?"
It's not that at all.
Oh, they were complaining about, what did you put in this chili? I go, I put some of that stuff in the ladies in there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Lisa, we've been talking so good. Has there been any questions?
Questions? More just like comments. People talking about and sharing, you know, their grandma stories. There were
Yeah.
a couple of grandma stories that popped up there. Michelle Aldifer said, "Hi, I finally got on. Love this. Say hi to Gordon and Martha for me."
Hello, Michelle.
And then
Sis.
John Sacchetti says, "The farmer's market in Sterling has really good cinnamon rolls with cream cheese
I
and
have
frosting."
heard that.
Oh, yeah. I like the farmer's market.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
Tony Bevilacqua's cinnamon.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's Tony
Well,
Chelsea that does.
Young's Bakery used to have the best cinnamon rolls. I used to get a half a dozen. I'd eat about 3 of them before I got home. And when they closed, I went over there one day. I was craving them, and I went over there, and they were closed. I said, "Oh no, because that's a cinnamon roll that Spalding's Bakery in Kentucky made." Just like that. I mean, heavy cinnamon rolls, you know, and with a lot of icing. I like icing on my rolls and my cakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Tony
yeah.
didn't have icing on his, but it would had that
Had this-
caramel,
yeah.
caramel like with the
Yeah, I know
nuts
what you're
in it
talking
and that.
about.
Oh.
Yeah.
But the frosting that my grandma would put on the cake,
Yeah.
like it would get a little hard, like the next
Oh,
day,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
and that, but
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff was good.
Yeah.
I remember I remember her we made cookies with her. You know, Mom would drop us off and we'd make Christmas cookies, cut out cookies with my
Yeah.
grandma and stuff like that.
That's how I learned how to cook, watching my mother. I stayed in the kitchen
9
because I was waiting for the bowl.
Oh, wow.
After she
Yeah,
got
we've been
through
here a
mixing
long
all the cake mix
Yeah.
and
Oh,
the
you get the
icing
like
and
the
stuff,
beater?
yo. And I hated it when they came out with that plastic spatula that cleaned the bowl. You know, I wanted to use the spoon because it had more stuff in there, you know.
Well, as we were talking about recipes, I remember my great grandma and my mom, they would always say, like, you never wrote down anything. You just
Yeah.
put a pinch of this and a dash of this.
Right,
That's
right.
it.
And until you taste
To
it.
taste, yeah.
And so I'm like, what? And so as I started cooking big meals, I'm like, okay, what is this? And so I do a lot better now. But when I
Yeah.
first, I was like, no,
Right.
this don't sound right. I need a recipe. And now, you know, you have the internet, so you're like, let me Google this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
my grandma didn't put that in there. My
Yeah,
mom
right.
didn't put that in
Exactly.
there. No,
Exactly.
no.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
now I got it.
I don't measure like when I'm baking and that, especially like everybody likes all the Christmas cookies. I'll measure like the flour and the sugar,
Right,
But
yeah.
like the vanilla, the baking soda, all the salt, and I
Yeah.
never use it. I just
Yeah.
do the stuff,
That's how I-
cinnamon, all that stuff.
How much stuff to put in there? Just give a pinch. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you like, you want more
Can you make
cinnamon.
peach cobbler?
I just did, and
Yeah.
to be honest, I didn't even get to try it because somebody moved it and it fell off.
Oh.
But my mom makes an awesome peach cobbler.
Yeah, boy. I've been trying. I haven't perfected that
She
yet.
can make a good crust. She got me because I don't
Yeah,
like the peaches.
yeah,
all
she
I,
just likes the
uses
crust.
the-
Yeah.
all I
does
want is
use
the
us
crust.
biscuits.
Oh yeah, I heard people use
Yeah.
biscuits.
Mama
Chips
Sally
and
used to do that too.
Yeah.
Just roll out the biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buttermilk biscuits.
Oh,
Okay.
my grandma used to make those baking powder biscuits.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they were really good, and we'd use them for the strawberries. You know,
Oh, strawberry shortcake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I told Gordon just today when we was in Cracker Barrel, I said, look at that. They got baking powder. You don't even hear that anymore until people
Clapper,
start baking.
Clapper girl.
Baking something. They
Yeah.
might
You remember
say
that
put a
baking
pinch
powder?
of baking
Was
cider.
it Clapper girl?
Mm,
It came in a white and red can.
yeah.
Clapper girl baking powder.
It was always in a can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My grandma always, she always said made baking powder, and she always made all the pie crust by hand, and all that.
Yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
My dad would be cutting up the apples, and she'd be making the pies, just as fast as she could. And then, anytime like on Sundays,
Yeah.
people would come over, she lived with us. People would come over, she goes, go down and get me 2 apple pies out of the freezer and grab this and this. And she made the best. She'd make all our bread, my grandma would, and
Yeah,
she made,
homemade bread.
and
I
today,
just was telling my friend about
the best
Something
bread
about
that
it.
she made
Yeah.
was and she'd make it for me, was graham bread.
Mm.
And there's not a better peanut butter and jelly sandwich on
Oh,
graham bread.
I
to
love
me.
peanut butter and jelly.
And then she would also make homemade Thousand Island dressing, and I tell
Yeah,
you what, her
yeah.
Thousand Island dressing
Yeah.
was good.
You know,
Yeah.
when my grandmother
I know
made
how to
her chicken and dumplings, I could see her out there rolling that that dough out, and oh man, then she would take the knife and just cut thin strips, and she'd drop it in that broth wherever it was boiling. That's where she would drop it at. Oh man.
I know.
And then she put yellow food coloring in it
Oh,
to
to
change
get that
the color.
Make it look yellowy.
Just
So Martha, you can't do that, huh?
No,
I
not
cannot
yet.
do-
She tried
I
it one
can't do the
time, but
dumplings.
it wasn't successful.
I'm working on. My sister
Yeah.
got a recipe. We go through it every time I call her. Like, now, what you say we do with them dumplings? I go, girl, I just told you.
My brother called me the other day and he goes, do you got the recipe for the apple dumplings? And I go, just
Yeah.
a minute. So I got the cookbook out I was taking pictures on my phone and
Yeah,
sending
yeah,
them to
yeah.
him.
But
I go,
Gordon went to the orchard, apple orchard. And
Yeah,
he bought some in a
Tanner's.
bag.
yeah.
Yeah,
bought some
yeah. I brought
dumplings.
dumplings. Yeah, they
In a
got
bag.
dumplings in a bag. They German dumplings. It
Yeah.
says chicken dumplings.
Uh-huh.
And I used to get that all the time, make the chicken dumpling soup. But I add the chicken,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, in there for chicken and dumplings. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah, I
German
like-
dumplings.
I
but
can
good.
eat, like I said, I don't eat chicken on a bone or whatever.
Yeah.
But like chicken noodle soup,
Yeah, yeah.
I
You-
can't eat.
You can't eat it?
No.
You have to take the chicken off the bone or use a chicken breast.
No, I don't like the taste of
you
chicken noodle
don't?
soup.
Oh
no.
my gosh.
Oh,
You
my-
know,
And my grandma
a
one
homemade chicken
homemade
noodle soup?
chicken
Well,
noodle soup?
when my grandma made the homemade chicken noodle soup, she made the noodles.
Yeah.
And
Oh
she-
yeah.
She'd,
yeah.
and she'd
yeah.
do that, and they were always big, wide noodles, not like
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
Campbell soup, you know.
Oh
And
yeah.
we
No,
used-
no, no.
No yolk.
And I would
bread.
just
Yeah.
go and I go,
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't
Yeah.
like. And when she makes macaroni and cheese, I go, move down. I'm getting a smell from that macaroni and
I get
cheese.
kicked out.
I love
I can
macaroni.
grab-
You
I
like
do
fried
too.
apples?
I never had a fried apple.
Oh wow.
So how do you fry the apple?
Well, my mother, she always fries bacon, takes the bacon out, and then she slices the apples kind of thick. You know, put them in the bacon grease. Yeah, and put a little water in there, and then enough sugar, you know, to taste, you know, how sweet you want them, and just boil them. You know, you don't want to boil them too long or you get apple sauce.
Right.
But leave the peelings on,
Yeah.
you know, because I like the peelings. You ever had fried apples?
No.
And then put them on
I
a
don't
hot biscuit and eat that bacon with a hot biscuit.
I don't
and
like cooked
fried
fruit, though.
apples. My neighbors got apple trees right across the street, and I was doing my walk one morning. I had on my sweatshirt, so I just grabbed about a dozen apples, stuffed them in my shirt, and you know, and came in and made fried apples.
I shot
Yeah.
a guy out of our apple tree one year for doing that. I'll never
You're the
forget
mean
it.
person. You wouldn't go to his house and get the apple.
But
you know?
I'll never forget it. I was out there and I shot in a tree. I had a BB gun. I shot
Oh,
in
yeah.
a tree, and the guy's coming out and he was yelling at me and he goes, "I'm gonna kick your ass," you know. And he comes out of the tree and he looks and he goes, "Bud," and I go, "Fred," and I go, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I wanted some apples." I go, "Why didn't you ask me?" You know. And so we went to school together, you
Yeah.
know, and stuff. And he goes, "Well, I go, "Well, go ahead and take some, but just ask me for them. Don't
Yeah.
come in there, you know, into the yard."
Well, that's the way we used to do when we were kids. We knew where every apple tree, peach tree,
Everything.
a pear tree, grapevine, we knew where they all were.
Cherries.
Yeah, cherry
Everything.
trees, yeah,
Grapes,
plums.
everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
we
the
didn't
next
we
time-
didn't get a whole lot of, you know, the fruit we got off, you know, trees around in the neighborhood and wherever we saw trees, we knew where all of them were.
My grandfather was a big fruit person.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a big cooker. He loved to cook.
Yeah.
So he would go to work. He would come home about 4 or 5, and then he would start making dinner. And he would make dinner, and then it was time for y'all to eat. But he kept fruit. And when I
Yeah.
tell you, like the holidays,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
I think because of my grandfather, I love holidays. He set everything out for holidays. I mean, he set out the good china.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody got to eat at the big table. Every meal he made himself. And then he would have bowls of fruit and nuts on the table.
Yeah.
And that's what you snacked on all day after breakfast until dinner was ready. And he put little candies in the bowls too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
amazing. When I tell you, like he literally, because of him, I love holidays.
Me
I mean,
too.
even
Me too,
Easter,
Tina.
Yeah.
Me
like
too.
he would go get us a real Easter bunny every Easter.
Oh, wow.
So that we can see the bunny at Easter. Every
Yeah.
year you come to, and we had every holiday at his house. And every year, like I said, there'd be a bunny there, and then you would see like the food and the fruit, and he'd have the house decorated, and he did it every year by himself.
Wow. Yeah, that's when we got a lot of candy. My grandmother always had fruit and candy in the dishes and stuff, all them
Yeah.
little
Me too.
twirl candies.
Yeah.
And we do
Oh,
that
yeah,
too.
the
That's just
ribbon-
tradition
ribbon
passed
candy.
on.
Yeah.
That's
My
ribbon
ribbon
candy.
candy.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
grandma
baby
did
was
too.
come in and said,
Yeah.
"You ain't got no good candy, Mom." Well, you ain't the baby anymore, so go buy some.
My grandma had the ribbon.
The ribbon candy.
ribbon
I don't
Yeah.
get the orange because I like
That
the
little
orange.
bag
Yeah.
of candy.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like the fancy bag of
Yeah,
candy.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Like,
yeah.
he would
all different colors.
Yep.
It'd be shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, they
Yeah.
cut that
yeah.
out, and I
And then
just-
at church they used to give us a stocking. It
Yep.
either have 2 oranges and an apple, or
Uh-huh.
2 apples and an
Peppermint
orange
candy.
and peppermint stick in it, and yeah.
Well, you know, and look at that's what, and now, you know, it's so commercialized. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
when Quinn was little and he'd go, I know, but we'd watch A Christmas Carol, and those kids, you know, I go, look how happy they are because
Yeah.
they got food.
Right.
You know, there's no toys on that table.
Right,
I go,
yeah.
you got to remember, and he go, and you know, every year I watch it every year. You can, she gets
Yeah.
tired of it. I go,
Yeah.
I gotta watch.
I don't watch
and
it.
I watch it every year.
the Christmas
and,
story is mine
Yeah.
every year, like clockwork.
Yeah.
And I would tell Quinn. Quinn goes, yeah, I know.
Rain and
They
BB gun.
didn't have
Little
toys
old,
or
that's
anything
big.
like that. They
Yeah.
had food, you know, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah, definitely. I've taught my daughter from the beginning, you know, we don't value presents. You know, we
Yeah.
value our time that we spend
There
with
you
each
go.
other for Christmas.
Yeah.
But we do celebrate Christmas, and like I said, I love all holidays because of my grandfather. But definitely Christmas. You know, I taught her early on that it's not about the present.
Right.
You know, and you get a lot, and I get it. But at the end of the day, it's about actually giving. And so
Yeah.
since she was a little girl, we've always done where we donate. And so, you know, we go and we donate, and, you know, it's about that. And so every year she'd be like, can I pick from the tree? Yeah. And
Yeah.
now that she's older, you know, she's like, okay, well, we're going to ring the bell this year, right? Yep. We're going to ring the bell. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Well, which days? I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. So it's definitely those traditions that you either get from your culture or your family, or, you know, whatever community that you're from, that you want to pass on to your kids for them to pass on to their kids.
sure.
Yeah.
I thought about ringing the bell, but I can't stand out in that cold. It's like, you put me in the Kmart part, and somewhere got a doorway that I can stand
They
in the
do
door,
have
like
the one at the
Kroger's.
mall that
Like
Yeah.
Kroger's in the doorway,
Yeah.
I'll ring the bell. But if you got me on the curb, I ain't ringing the bell.
Right. Well, I used to when we'd always go to my aunt's because and that's after my grandma passed, so she became the big mama.
Yeah.
And it was on a Sunday or whatever, and I knew that the watchman down at National would be working, you know, Darby or Emmett, and Emmett especially because he was from Wisconsin. You know, and I always go, hey, I tell my aunt, I go, I need a couple plates, I'll be right back. I go down there because those guys it was Christmas Day,
Right, yeah.
and they were. And then when I got to be watchman, you know, I know what it felt like, you know, and stuff like that. But I'd always take them food down like that. And I go, here, you know, here's stuff and that, you know, and because it was nice to do.
Yeah.
Well,
So, how are we doing on time?
About 10 to 8.
Oh, really? Well, we probably could wrap it up. We ran the gamut.
Yeah, we
and,
sure did,
And
didn't
I
we?
hope people will investigate the diversity.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. Look us
of
up on
Sauk Valley.
Facebook. We also have a YouTube. We'll probably do, you know, depending on what's going on with COVID, some of our events might be virtual, so look out for those things. And like I said, there's some of our past events that are on the page that you can see pictures, you can see some of the videos, you can see, you know, some of the events that we host. And so hopefully I will get to see you or meet you. We are an organization that thrives on volunteers and community awareness and love. And so if you are a person that likes to volunteer, likes to get involved, we would definitely love to have you. We're all, you know, we're all in this together as a community. And so as we're here and we are spending time with one another, why not educate each other while we're here?
Awesome.
All right.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and it was great talking.
Yeah.
No,
Thanks for the
you
invite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight, and
Have a
pray
blessed
for-
night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Have a blessed
definitely.
night, and pray for more rain. What we got's a start, but we need more.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so. All right. Is John there?
John's already got it queued up.
Peace, John.
He said, great show, enjoyed it, peace, and love all of you.
Yeah,
All
Thank
right.
you.
you.
Same to you.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Have
See
a
you
great
next
evening.
week.
Yep.